It's a pleasure to have you here. Hello YouTube, hello Instagram, and hello TikTok. Let me turn this on here. Hello everyone. It is a pleasure to have you here. Hi. Hi everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So today, all these days we have been talking about, we've been reading this book talking about childhood trauma, and Facebook is still not, there's still no sound on Facebook. Hi Valencia, hi Ethnic Roots Salon, welcome. Hi everybody. Hello TikTok, it's a pleasure to see you on Facebook. YouTube for some reason is still not doing what it is supposed to do. So today I want to change gears a little bit, and instead of talking about this book, right, instead of talking about the Inner Child Healing Workbook, today I want to change gears and we start reading and talking about the book by R.C. Blakes, which is called The Father-Daughter Talk. The Father-Daughter Talk. If you know this book, please let me know in the chat. If you have heard of this book, let me know in the chat. I think it is a wonderful, wonderful book. Right? And I don't know what is still happening with my YouTube. The sound is still playing with me. Right, so I will be reading this book today. But before I start the book, I want to say that if anybody wishes to buy this book, it is not my book. I did not write the book. I don't even know the author of this book, but I know it's very helpful to anybody who wishes, right, to heal from trauma, who wishes to heal from their generational trauma. I have the link to the book, and so if it is something that, let me do this, let me take out my YouTube headset, turn off the Bluetooth, and then change the sound, right, and see if it's gonna work, because I know the moment I hear myself on YouTube, that means that it's working, and then I have to mute it. All right, so let's check that. Give me a moment, let's check that. But like I was saying, right, if anybody wishes to buy this book, you can find it on Amazon. For me, it was a gift, right? I am also an Amazon associate. So if you want to, I don't want to say sponsor, if you want to support me, you can go to the link in my bio on any channel that you're watching me on, and you will be able to find your Amazon link. But at the same time, I can also put the link in my bio for you to get the book, right? That's that. So we will be changing gears today, and we are going to start the conversation on the father-daughter talk, right? We will start with the father-daughter talk, and then after this book, if anybody wishes to, well, after the book we can move on. Nice to see the truth. Okay, if anybody wishes, right, we can move on to another book that I have, which is the mother one. So with this book we will start the conversation on the father one. Most of us women, good morning, the real Osman. Most of us women, and even men, have a father wound, right? Even though it is not talked about a lot, Guys, I have no idea what is happening with my YouTube. Let me stop it here because I don't think it's working. All right, and I'll just focus here. One of the things that we have in our society when it comes to trauma, and when I say in our society, of course, there are other societies and there are other environments and communities that have these issues. But when I say our societies, I'm always talking about people that look like me. One of the issues that we have is that either nobody wants to talk about the trauma that's going on in our communities, or it is a stigma. There's a huge stigma in our communities, whether you are African American, Black American, African, Caribbean. As long as you have a dark skin, one of the major issues that we have is nobody talks about trauma. Nobody talks about how we raise our children, right? One of the things I like about this book, it was written by a pastor, R.C. Blakes. He is an African-American pastor. Now, I am from a Muslim family, right? But I have gone to the point where I listen to anybody who is dropping wisdom. And R.C. Blakes, you can find him on YouTube as well. And in our community, which is the Girl Hold My Hand community, you can find that link in my bio as well. We are having an event coming up in Miami, and it's called The Awakening. So basically it's a combination of truth tellers, of people who would impact your life, who speak life into you, that are coming together and talk about ways that we can live up to our highest human potential. Now, R.C. Blakes talks about how when he was younger, this is before he became a pastor, even talk about these issues, he was a womanizer. And if you were with me yesterday, I spoke about how in most cases, men who were womanizers before have faced some kind of trauma in their life, right? And it's one thing that I love about R.C. Blakes and about this book is that he is teaching from experience, from the trauma he went through as a young man, and now being a father and a husband and a pastor, right? Being the father of most women who have never had their father. He lays out the things that most of us should have been told as young women from our fathers. But also he explains how most young men have gone through their own trauma. So being fathers, they don't know how to take care of their families and how to take care of their children. And I am going to go straight into chapter 1, right? There's the foreword as well, which was written by Rachel Blakes, and also the introduction, but I am going to go straight to chapter 1. And chapter 1 of this book is the things every woman should hear from a father. Now, when we talk about the father wound, or we talk about daddy issues, I know that a lot of people don't understand this. Given from my experience, I didn't know what this was. I thought the father wound or daddy issues is for women who don't have fathers, who don't know their fathers, whose fathers are not in their lives. This is what I thought. Because I know my father's still around. He was present in my life, right? He was there for me. But looking back in my experience and also going deeper in this book, I can say that I have daddy issues, because the things that the book is teaching and the things that men who are out there teaching women talk about, my father never told me, even though he was present in my life and he is still alive. He's still there. If I picked up the phone today and call him, he will talk to me about anything and everything. But if we talk about trauma, right, and then we talk about daddy issues, one thing that we always forget to mention is the fact that most of our parents are emotionally unavailable. Emotionally unavailable. And because they are emotionally unavailable, they can't open up. They cannot talk to us. They went through their own trauma and never healed from it, and it has been normalized. And it has been normalized to act that way, to behave that way. Right? So let me go in and start reading, and then we will break it down. If you do have any questions along the way, please put it in the chat and I'll break it down. We don't have any structure the way that we are doing this. I just lost my daddy. I am living my life the first time without him. 50 years and I am making decisions on my own. Wow, Valencia, wow. My condolences, and I'm very sorry for your loss, but you know, that's life. We transition and death is a normal part of life. But my grandmother used to say that wherever you go, you can find your family. Wherever you are, you can always find a family somewhere, right? And so the part one of the book is the things every woman should hear from a father. And chapter 1 is your dress code is your personal commercial. Your dress code is your personal commercial. Here you go. Now, I want to put in my 2 cents in there before I start reading it. Your dress code is your personal commercial. I have talked about here before, if you've been on the live, how society, we have been programmed and indoctrinated to the point where we believe in a lot of things that really don't make sense. And if we talk about civilization and we talk about the West and the life that we're living today, I can say yes, your dress code matters. But if we go back to our ancestors, especially our African ancestors, where I am from, where we are from, right? In those days, your dress code never mattered because they didn't have these that we're wearing. But the life that we are living today, how you dress is so important to people. But then we forget that when we were born, we came here naked. And when we die, we're going back to the ground naked. And we still have African communities and African societies where men and women do not wear these type of clothes that we are wearing, yet still they respect each other. Is there trauma there? Yes, possibly. Is there pain and hurt? Yes, possibly. But as I read this book, I want us to remember that there are social constructs that we are living under right now. Nothing I'm wearing today is natural. My skin, my soul, and who I am as a human being is natural. But everything that I have on is man-made. It was made by another human being, right? Somebody thought of it and then made it. But it has become a social construct to the point where we measure the value of women through what they wear. And I think that should not be the case. And the first chapter validates that. So I'm going to read and go ahead. Chapter 1, your dress code is your personal commercial. It was evening and I was reading through some Facebook postings of friends, family and church members. And there it was. It was a message from a young lady who was visibly attractive and obviously intelligent based on her use of words. In spite of the initial positive impression, the posting quickly turned bizarre, B-I-Z-A-R-R-E, my accent. And as I continued to read, she wrote something that had the undertones of a woman not short of clueless. In her post, she was addressing other women. She said, try your brains, use your articulation and your education. When all else fails, fall back to your booty, as in derriere, behind, bottom, or buttocks. Now, I don't advocate for that. I know that clothes are social constructs, but I don't think that, if you try everything and it doesn't work, fall back to your behind, to your buttocks, right? I don't advocate for that because that doesn't work. All I could visualize were my daughters and my nieces and how I would feel had they posted something so self-abashing. In a sense, her message was, use the promotion of your body to get ahead in this world. And we all know women who have done that. Use your bottom to get to the top. Use your sexuality as a success strategy. I don't advocate for that either. Use your sexuality for your own well-being, because sexuality is a part of nature, not necessarily to get the attention of men or get the better things in life. It's not necessary. Unfortunately, this person had been conditioned to believe that her future is behind her. Think about it. So her future is behind her. Her future is her behind. How sad. The spirit of that posting seems to be the prevailing mindset of young and even older women today. Many actually feel that they must flaunt themselves as sexual objects to solicit the attention of men. If you've been here, I have talked about how as children, some of us women, if you were not sexually abused, you might have been verbally, sexually abused. So from a young child at home, you've already been sexualized by your family, intentionally or unintentionally. And so we grow up and sexualize ourselves. We talked about trauma and needing validation, people pleasing, and that's basically what he's talking about. This mindset promotes overt sexuality in the way a woman adorns herself for the world to see. She finds herself exposing more and more of her flesh in an attempt to garner the interest she craves from society and specifically men. Now, there are differences to this. If you come from a traumatizing environment, this can be what we talked about. What's happening? This can be what we talked about yesterday and what I just mentioned in terms of needing validation, seeking validation, looking for the attention of others and people pleasing. But what I want you to bear in mind is that many African communities live naturally and they barely have any clothes on. That doesn't mean they are sexualizing themselves, right? And if you look in the West now, most people or most women who have gone deep down into the spiritual path, they don't wear a lot of clothes anymore. And this is not because they are sexualizing themselves. It's because they have been awoken to themselves, tapping back into their African ancestry. And the moment you start doing that, clothes don't make any sense to you anymore, because then you understand that it is a social construct. You might say, Empress, but look at the way that you are dressed. This time in my life, this just feels good, because I've always wanted to dress like this. This just feels good. But I am one of those very spiritual women who I have never cared about clothes. And I still really don't. My hair tie is because I'm growing my locks and it just feels good to do this. And I just like this. It just feels good what I'm wearing, right? But I don't really care much for clothes. And it's not for validation. It's the understanding that we were born naked. And when we die, we're going back under this earth naked. Right. So the book is mostly on the Christian perspective. That doesn't mean if you are a different religion, you can't listen. Again, this is another sad consequence of the moral deficiency in judgment to which a fatherless generation of women fall victim. For Christian women to flaunt their body and sex appeal as the primary message for all to see is most contradictory in this modern era. And he quotes the Bible. The Bible has very specific standards concerning the dress code of female believers, right? Now, if you believe in the Bible, that's for you. If you don't, then you don't. So no woman in any era should use public attire to stir sexual excitement. Let your dress code be consistent with your moral code. No self-respecting woman should expose the areas of their body that should be considered private. And no female should dress in a way that society concludes, just by the way she is clothed, that she is provocative and sexually inviting. That goes back to what I was saying. Societal norms and societal constructs always have that in mind, that there are societal norms, there are societal constructs of who a woman is supposed to be, how a woman is supposed to act, the way that a woman is supposed to be. And many a time that pose a lot of pain and hurt and trauma to most women, because it might not be in line with how the woman wants to express themselves or how the woman wants to be. It doesn't mean that the woman is bad. It doesn't mean that something is wrong with the woman. She just has a different way of how she wants to be. And most times it is not in the box that society wants to put women in. The real message is that a woman should not mislead the world to define her as something she is not, based on the dress code that sends the wrong message. When teaching this, I make this point. If a prostitute is walking on a street corner and you, another woman, pass by, those looking on should be able to determine the prostitute from you. Today, the dress code has become so liberal that many women are wearing the same exploitive, seductive clothing that common prostitutes are wearing. This should not be. I can debunk that in so many different ways, right? But again, I go back to saying, whatever book you read, always remember that they are societal constructs. Osman, I'm from the Gambia, West Africa. Right? There are societal constructs as to how a woman is supposed to act and be. So God calls for each of us to exhibit personal standard that will be pleasing to Him. That idea that God is a Him. Can't God be a her? Doesn't a woman, bring life? And our actions and behavior should reflect our sanctification unto Him. Okay. The necessity of a woman understanding the importance of monitoring her image to the world goes beyond principles. It is a matter of self-respect. It is appreciation for the struggle that generations of women before them have encountered to be viewed as equals. And it's the overall wisdom of the woman in an oversexed, male-dominated society to promote her more virtuous assets. Are you from Gambia too? Beautiful. Never dress to attract attention. Now, I agree with this part. This part I agree with. It says, never dress to attract attention. Dress to project conviction. If you want to be respected for your mind as a woman, don't promote your behind. Many of us women, this is something that our fathers, our family has never told us. So this part I do agree with, because in general, if the men in our life, be it our father, be it our uncles, be it our brother, are able to sit us down and explain, okay, in this modern world, in this modern era, in the civilization that we live in, this is the way men think. When you say this, this is how men interpret it. Right? When you do this, this is how men interpret it. It will make it easier for men and women to get along. But most of us, our parents have never told us this. For women, our parents haven't told us this. For men too, I don't know a lot about men, but I also do know that most men, their parents have never sat them down to explain to them how to deal with women or even how to deal with themselves. Right? Because the community that we're in, we have men in our community, it's both men and women, and it's about breaking generational curses. And one of the issues that you see is, even if you have a man, say you have both your parents at home. You have a mother and you have a father. They are at home. But they're children from that family who have the same characteristics as children who their parents are not home together. Maybe their parents divorced, separated, or never married. Why is that issue? It doesn't matter if the parents, if the children have their parents home or not. What matters is the lessons that the children get from the parents. That is actually much more important than both parents being at home, in my personal opinion. Because if your parents are home and they never teach you anything at all, that just means you just still don't know anything. But if a child don't have both their mother and their father at home, but their father is teaching them what they need to know and their mother is teaching them what they need to know, that child will know and be more alert and wiser than the child who have both their father and their mother at home. I hope this makes sense, right? So what we teach our children is a whole lot more important, because there are some people who have both parents and they are heavily traumatized by their parents. I know that because my younger sister is one of them. She lives at home right now. I don't live with them. She lives with my mother and her father. I don't even call him my stepfather. So she lives with her mother, which is our mother, and her father in the same house. And unfortunately, she is heavily traumatized, and all these things I have to learn and teach her, even though she has both parents at home and she's living with them. Why? Because if you have unconscious parents, if you have traumatized parents, what they do is they pass on that trauma onto you. So whatever pain and hurt that you're feeling right now, if you go back to your childhood, you'll probably see where it's coming from. For a woman, image is everything, right? In the society that we live in today, unfortunately, that's how they see it. The image that you project, right? For me, for example, when I go out looking like this, today I'm just wearing my Harry Potter glasses to change the look. But when I go out with my head tie and my what is considered African fabric, which most of these African fabrics are made from China, so they are not really African unless it's handmade in Africa. Alright, when I go with my head tie and this outfit, I see people, will go want to worship the ground I'm walking on. Oh, hi queen, oh, hi empress. Oh, I don't have a problem with that. I love it, right? But they're just judging me by my head tie and my dress and the cloth that I'm wearing, without knowing that I am no different with the lady who's wearing booty shorts. Most women like booty shorts. I like booty shorts. I don't wear it for men, but I absolutely love wearing booty shorts. Right? It doesn't take away from my mind. Which takes me back to a quote that I read, which said that the moment we start looking at each other as souls instead of objectifying each other, we will have a different world. Because if I walk outside now naked and what you see is my soul as a human being and not necessarily the clothes that I'm wearing or not wearing, you will treat me differently and you would look at me differently than just an object that you can use and discard of. Why? Because you think that as a woman, if I wear shorts, if I wear my summer outfit, if I wear booty shorts, then that means I am low class. That means I am no good. That means you can use and discard of me. Then that means you, the person, do not know yourself yet. You haven't dug deep within your soul to know who you are as a spiritual being having a human experience. When a female disregards personal boundaries and allows herself to display an image of explicit sexuality through her dress code, she is dismantling all of the work that women have done for generations to fight for equality. Personally, I don't believe in equality. I don't believe that men and women are equal. I don't believe that men and women should be equal, because we're not equal. We're different. We are one as a soul, but we are also very different, right? I also don't believe in that, even though I posted a song, a very old African song by P Square, that talks about what a man can do, a woman can do. I don't believe in that either. I don't believe that what a man can do, a woman can do. I believe there are things that men do, which is manly and masculine. And I also believe that there are things that women do that's feminine. And that brings in the combination of the feminine and the masculine. And that's what makes life beautiful, when we bring in the masculine and the feminine together. So there's no equality. There cannot be equality of men and women. Well, let's say I don't believe that. It's been less than 100 years since women have been respected enough to obtain the right to vote in the United States. It was the suffrage movement in the early 20th century that fought for these basic rights. Women traditionally have been relegated to two functions in this male-controlled society: the bedroom to satisfy the sexual urges of the man, and the kitchen to satisfy his dietary needs. Neither of these functions recognizes nor respects the woman as the thinking being created on a co-equal level, which is true in a way, right? If you look at the part where it says that in this male-controlled society, the bedroom to satisfy the sexual urges of the man, that is the way, just like this person, whoever it is that is writing all this stuff in this chat, sexualizing women and objectifying women. Even though I'm sitting here talking about our soul and who we are as human beings, as men and women, there is somebody who is validating exactly what I'm saying in the chat. Cannot hear what I'm saying, but for the simple fact that I'm sitting here and I am talking and I am a woman, right? The only thing that comes to their mind is these societal constructs of the way of thinking. Right? So not everybody will pass that thinking, obviously, right? But there are some people who are ready for that. The moment you see yourself as a man, you see the soul within yourself. You are able to see the soul of another woman. Same goes for us women too. I know that as a child, when I was growing up, men were sexualized in my eyes, right? And when I was growing up, the only thing that I was told, I was never taught to see the humanity and the soul of a man. Like I said, you can have your father and your mother at home with you and you are still traumatized. So when I was growing up, and I had to learn this, men were not humanized at the way that I was raised. The only thing that I was told is, you need a man who is rich. You need a man who has money, who can buy you a house, who can do this and who can do that. A man that looks good. The societal ideas of a tall, 6 feet, whatever man. I believed in all of those things. I didn't even have to believe it. It was the subliminals that came into me, right? And so those were the ideas that I was raised with. Now, during my teenage years and when I was growing up, for some reason mentally, I was attracted to a different kind of men. The men that I was attracted with and I dated and brought into my life at that point, who were very healthy and good men. They were not 6 feet tall, right? My ex-husband, who I married, did not have money, but he was very talented, still is very talented, and I was able to see that talent, and personally I was attracted to that talent. One issue that most of us, our families do, is that they will break those sorts of relationships. This might not happen to a lot of women, but it happened to me, where I started off dating very healthy men, but because they were not per the societal standards, my family broke up those kinds of relationships. Peter, just listen, taking the lessons and what I'm saying. We're not joking here and we're not playing. Just take it in and sit with it. There's nothing wrong with you. You are enough, right? So just take it in. If wisdom is not something that you're not used to, but you want to learn and you want to know, then welcome to the group. So just take it in, no matter how you look. Good day, Afrocentric. If you're Chinese, if you're Indian, if you're white, if you're African, if you're purple, if you're yellow, you have a soul. You're good enough. If you're 4 feet tall as a man, you are good enough. It doesn't matter what you are, right? One person that I truly respect and I listen to, and I always talk about him here, is Andrew Tate. And one thing he said is that most men are too preoccupied with how they looked and their height and whatever. And he would always say that as a man, it doesn't matter how you look, your height, how much money you have. He always say that if you're 6 foot tall, be the fucking man. Go to the gym, work out, be hard working, get your money right. If you're 4 feet, be the fucking man. Go to the gym, work out, get your money right. It doesn't make a difference, right? Hello, Stu. It has been a while. Right? So it doesn't matter. It's good. I'm glad you can't get mine. That means listen. Right? So like I was saying, I grew up not being taught what a man can bring in my life apart from the societal notions of what a man is and what a woman is, right? And most of us were raised that way. So the clothes, personally, before I go on, it has been working way too many hours. Well, I hope you are working on your own business on the side, right? I hope it's not the system. We need our black men to get out of the system. So before I go on and continue reading, just one thing I want to say that leaving it in your mind. Be you a man, be you a woman. The clothes that somebody wear does not make them high value. The way that somebody dresses does not make them high value. It can be a trend. It can be a cultural thing, something that they are going back to, right? So I wear African clothes, or what people consider African fabrics. That's the way I was raised. But many a time, it's not even from Africa. Because I wore this one time in my neighborhood, and they told me that the colors is very Caribbean. And they were like, oh my God, you have the Caribbean colors, but in a African pattern. And I am pretty sure this was not made in Africa. This was not made in Africa. It's made from a factory somewhere else. But if you are not awakened to yourself, then you judge by the clothes that somebody wear. There's always something deeper to the person than the clothes that they are wearing. You might see a woman who has so much makeup. The boobs are sitting here. But if you don't judge them and you sit down in a conversation, you will be surprised how wise that woman is. Same goes for men as well. Right? So let's continue. And as I mentioned, if you're just joining us, I am reading The Father-Daughter Talk by R.C. Blakes, simply because the last book that we've read, I feel like we have done everything. We have read the whole thing in terms of inner child healing, which this book too will take us back to inner child healing. Yes, still so true, right? But these are societal constructs that we believe in. So let's go. The woman has always lived from a pseudo-inferior position, which has been perpetuated by insecure men in power. That is true. But as soon as a woman knows her power, as soon as a woman knows and recognizes her power, then it doesn't matter that women are seen in an inferior, because we all create our own worlds, right? We all have our own worlds. So I can create my own world where I do not feel inferior. And nothing you do can make me feel inferior. The same goes for men. However, it is one thing for someone else to continue your bondage unjustly, and quite another when you, the marginalized, actively promote your own social enslavement by willing acts of self-destruction, which is the destructive habits that we have been talking about. What is the problem for you, Peter? My daughter is leaving to go to university. I am depressed to see her go. Your daughter's gonna go anyway. To university, or die, or get a husband. Your daughter's gonna leave you anyway, right? Don't have abandonment issues. Look back in your life where you feel abandoned, or where those abandonment issues come from. Let your daughter go. Let her go. She needs to live her life. You cannot be her husband, can you? She will always be a baby. Right? She will always be your baby. Even if she is 40 years old, you will always feel like she's a baby. But she needs to live. The best you can do is give her the lessons that she needs as a woman. Teach her from a man's perspective what she needs to know about men. But if you're depressed because she's leaving, that means there's some abandonment issues, which means you might teach her in a very traumatic way. You might end up traumatizing her more. So instead of teaching her, you will make her more fearful of men or other people. So first you need to look at yourself. First, Peter, right? Look at yourself, look at your childhood, where these feelings came from, why you think the way that you think. Right from the beginning when you came in, even the post that the comments that you're doing, look at where all these ideas come from. Your daughter has to go. Now, if you're strict about it and you don't want her to go, and she can feel your pain and hurt and everything, she can end up hating you. And I know that's not what you want. Work on yourself. That way you can teach your children. It doesn't matter what age she is. Even if she is 50 years old, she is still going to be a baby to you. Right? Let her go. But teach her. Teach her what she needs to know. Right? Tell her. One thing we don't do, we don't tell our children our past mistakes and what we went through in our life. Tell her your past mistakes as a man. Right? The mistakes that you have had as a man. The things that you have done with other women that you shouldn't have done. What are the things that are shameful to you that you did? Teach her those things. So that when she sees those in another man, she will understand, my daddy told me this. So I can look out for that. Right? You came from a woman. So I hope you have respect for women. Most men forget that their mothers are women. And so they abuse and use other women simply because of the way that they were raised. If her mother is around, yeah, it's not a matter of respecting all life. It's a specific way of thinking, right? If her mother is around, let her mother teach her. If her mother is not around, get her books on puberty, on womanhood, on growing up as a woman that she needs, and pack it with her, let her go with that. If you are traumatized, then you've given your daughter trauma. So look at yourself first and teach her and let the girl go. Because she will go anyway, whether you like it or not. So you might as well like it. So let's continue, right? However, it is, yeah, I read that. Lacking limitations in how much she will reveal and how she will sexually present herself publicly reinforces all of the lies that men believe about the woman's subservient place in society. Now, R.C. Blakes was born and raised in the West. So this is a Western idea. But any Western idea has permeated the entire world. But if you go to South Africa, right, even on stage, like the deep cultural aspects of South Africa, the Hamba tribes, right, women normally with their necklaces like this. That's why I like this speaker. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the sound from Instagram. You have the necklaces. I have one of those videos. You have the necklaces. They don't have any bra on, right? They might have something to cover their private parts, but this is a cultural aspect in terms of Africa. So it all depends on how people see it. But in the modern era, because of civilization, we believe crazy things. From the beginning of this nation, women, right, from the beginning of this nation, which means the nation of the United States of America, just America. From the beginning of this nation, women have been diminished to a sexual utensil, which is still happening, but that's based on trauma, regardless of the color of the person. During American slavery, the black woman with her rounded hips and full figure could not elude the lustful advances of the white slave master. Like I said, trauma on both sides. she would be stripped from her husband and children and used at will by her enslavers to a sexual exploitation. She had no option. But women today who have a choice choose to willingly offer themselves in the court of public opinion as nothing more than sexual objects. In this part, I will recommend a book that I have talked about here several times. And this book is for everybody, right? Regardless of your skin color, which is the post-traumatic slave syndrome, right? Because the more, as an African American, as a black person, as an African, the more you understand slavery, the more humble and powerful you get. As a white person, European, whatever it is, the more you understand slavery and the things that happen, the more humble and powerful you get in your soul and not the societal way of power, right? One thing that I want to talk about is these issues still happen. The ways that women were treated during that time when it comes to slavery and all of that. Now, if I should step back and go into our community, right? Because, you know, we talk about, oh, white men have a fetish for black women, blah, 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 blah. I don't talk about that. But if we come into our own communities as Africans and as black people and as African American women, Caribbean women, we still see residue of that. The way that the slave master treated black women still stays in our community in the way that most of us, our men treat us, but also the way that we women treat our men. That mentality is still around. The abuse. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, my beautiful darling queen sister. Sohna Mariama Faibiram Pendawagan. Thank you so much. I love hearing that. My grandmother used to call me that. It's a pleasure to have you back here, sir. Right, so that, if you look back in slavery, or you look back in the history of slavery and the way that women, specifically black women, were treated by the slave masters, right? There's still that residue of that in our communities as black people, African, Caribbean. The abuse that we face, not all of it, but most of it, post-traumatic slave syndrome. It's a book by Dr. Joy, and this is her topic. This is what she teaches. That abuse that black men saw, or African men or African ancestors saw in the way that the slave master was treating the black woman, it's still in our community, in the way that our own men treat us, right? But that also idea of the strong black woman in terms of how, Nene, stop, yes, go. Let's go. In the way that the black woman had to be strong for the family. The black woman had to take care of the family because the man has not been given the power to be the masculine, to be the man. There is still a residue of that in the society. Most of our confusion in this gender fight in terms of men are like this, women are like that, blah, 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 is based on the confusion of not understanding who we truly are as a people. Black, white, yellow, green, purple, orange. Even the white wife of the slave master was used for childbearing and social decoration. She too was just a well-kept emotional and psychological slave at the discretion of a perverted male-dominant culture. Alright, I'll see you, Stu. Bye-bye. Now, there has been a lot of movements that has absolutely nothing to do with the black woman. Most of these movements, like it said that even the white wife of the slave master was used for childbearing and social decoration. She too was just a well-kept emotional and psychological slave at the discretion of a perverted male-dominated culture. There are things that is for the white woman, and there are things that's for the black woman. Really, if we're to be honest, right? Now, I would probably need a white woman to break this down, because I'm not a white woman, so I can't talk for them, right? We don't have to talk for each other. We all have to talk for ourselves, right? But there has been so many movements. Any movement that happens in the West, like I said, it permeates all other countries, nations, cultures, unfortunately, and most times it destroys most nations. My belief, that this is my opinion, is that even feminism has nothing to do with the black woman, right? We can fight for ourselves, we can talk about our healing, we can do better as a people without dealing with feminism. Because I think feminism is based on this particular paragraph. The white woman being a psychological and emotional slave to their own man. How it works for them, I really don't know. I will need the white woman to talk to me about that. That's what I believe. I even talked about this and did a presentation in school because we were talking about black feminism, and I was like, but even the idea of feminism has absolutely nothing to do with the black woman or the African woman. It is not ours, but that's my opinion. But then if you look deep into black history and black psychology, you will see that even the teachers and the scholars and the ancestors that we have talked about this issue too, that feminism has nothing to do with the black African woman. Because both parties need to heal. Men, women need to heal. Black men, black women need to heal. White men, white women need to heal. Black people, white people, African people, Caribbean people need to heal. We all need healing from the things that our ancestors have done before we got here, because we carry that blood. With all of this history and victory, one would think that modern 20th century women would never position themselves as a public entertainment for a perverted male society. When we look at the videos and CD covers, we see how women are selling their honor to the highest bidder, which is true. The societal norms, Hollywood, you know, the media, the TV, the way it's portrayed. One thing I learned not long ago that I never knew was a thing, and it blew my mind. And if you are aware of this or you know more about this, please, tell me in the comments, because I didn't know much about it. What I heard was that Biggie Smalls created the fictional idea of Lil Kim because it was something that would sell, and this blew my mind. I have heard hip-hop heads and communities like that explain it, that the initial idea from the song, even the song, what is the name, Moulin Rouge. I love Moulin Rouge. By that time, that fictional character of Lil Kim was already created by Biggie Smalls What is Biggie Smalls label? What label was that with Lil Kim? I don't remember. Right? So that was like, oh my God. Right? That Lil Kim that we loved, or some of us loved, was fiction. It wasn't real. It was created for the camera because it's an image that would sell. And this is how, like I said, I mentioned this. This is how we get indoctrinated and we get programmed into the way that we think. Because the movies that we watch, right? The TV that we watch, the news that we watch, it programs and it changes the way that we think. And for some of us, if your parents have never told you, oh, the movies are not real, these are fictions, these are man-made, then you grow up believing that these things are real. That happened to me too. I believe that most of the stuff that I was reading and I was watching was real. So I believed it and I was acting that way. Even my family believed it and they were acting that way. So look that up. That the character, the initial character of Lil Kim was created by Biggie Smalls. And the only song that's coming to mind is Moulin Rouge. By the time Moulin Rouge came out, that character of Lil Kim was already created. Let's continue. I want to finish chapter 1. Right, let's see. First impressions are lasting. That is true. First impressions are lasting. Apple user, first impressions are lasting. I have heard from my daughters, people need to focus on my intellect. This argument sounds great in an ideal world where individuals truly judge by the content rather than image. However, in this culture, 99% of the time, we are judged and defined by what we appear to be at first glance. All of this happens before we utter a word or perform any act. Rather unfortunate. That is very true, which is what I was talking about. We get judged by superficial things, by things that really have no value, by things that doesn't matter. And if somebody judges another by superficial things, it's because they themselves are judging themselves by superficial things, like I said. A man is not built to focus on intellect and inner value first. A man is moved by what he first sees. But that is because that is the way that the man was raised. Right? Humor me this. What would happen if we were raised to see the soul, the spirit of each other? Then we wouldn't need books like this. I wouldn't need to break it down. We wouldn't need to have this conversation. What if we were raised to see the soul, the goodness of each other as men and women, period? Regardless of your skin color, you see the spirit. Whatever you believe, you see the Holy Spirit, you see Allah in another, you see the soul of the next person. Instead of the clothes they wear, instead of the voice, instead of what they're saying, instead of their accent, right? You're watching me and you see me as a soul. But that would mean that you already see yourself as a soul. There was a time where in an environment, I told people that you have to be able to see yourself. I told him that I can see myself in everybody. Yes, I have this book. It's really good. Thank you for this. You're very welcome, Prissy Her. I like that. Prissy Her. right? I said that I can see myself in everybody. Why? Because I have gone to the depths, to the deepest and darkest depths of my soul, where I can look at someone and see myself in them, regardless of how they look. What if from the get-go, as children, as babies, those were the first lessons we had instead of the ABCs? Wouldn't we be living in a different world today? As it relates to how a man views and judges a woman, it is clear that far too often he makes his opinions purely based on visual stimulation. That depends on the father figure he had. That depends on the love that was shown at home. Right? And how much self-control or whatever it is that he was taught. The same goes for women too. The same goes for us. Notice, man was created from the dust of the earth, meaning he finds his origin in things tangible and visible. This will prove to be relevant in how the male will embrace the world and life. A man, as a consequence of his base nature, will always have a pull to the things that he experiences, usually visually and tangibly. When a man sees a woman sanctifically dressed, his mind and focus immediately go to sexual pleasure. But that begs the question, Nene, the sound. And I told you, when I'm live, just do your thing and then we can talk later. Because I can't focus on two things. So this begs the question, right? The societies where clothing is not a thing, and they live together as a man, as a woman, and as a woman, we consider them uncivilized, and we consider them poor. But is that the way that the men see the women? Look them up. The Himba tribes that are still alive, that haven't bought into the ideas of civilization and the modern world. Does this apply to them? Or this is just for people who have embraced civilization, right? Do we say that these men out there in these tribes, they also look at their women or objectify their women? Because then we will be hearing a lot of abuse. Or maybe there is, I don't know. Right? This calls for a trip to all these tribes and the way that they are, because we need to learn that as well. This idea that when a man sees you dressed in what is considered by society revealing, is it only in the Western world or in the civilized or the world, the whatever that has embraced the civilization, or does it also apply to the traditional people who have decided to hold on to their ways of being and their traditions? Ever thought about that? Many men are misdirected by good women wearing a poor choice of clothing. She is usually much more than she is projecting. Now, I'm not saying that all women are not projecting. Obviously, there are different kinds of women. There are women who are actually projecting these things from trauma, people pleasing, looking for love, seeking validation. But, okay, women should take responsibility and accountability, because I am big on responsibility and accountability, right? But also, if you teach the men to be able to see a woman who needs help, Wouldn't that change society as well? Where you can recognize when a woman maybe comes from a traumatizing background and everything they're doing is screaming help, even though they don't know that they are screaming help. Just saying that a woman has to cover up is not enough, because maybe that woman just doesn't want to live that way. Like I said, we see a lot of spiritual women now who are very wise, have tapped back into their African ancestry, who do not care for clothes. Are they seeking attention? I doubt it. So this idea, or maybe this Western idea, that there is one way of being, it is not real. Women have to understand what men see. Men have to understand what women need. We both have to understand how to help each other and heal each other. Right? Don't discount a woman just because she's wearing booty shorts. I wear these things. I wear this. But I love my leggings. And I love my booty shorts. Somebody will see me today and be like, oh my gosh, she's so intelligent. She's so wise. Look at the way she's dressed. And the next day they see me in my very short shorts. And they're like, look at this woman. But then what's the difference? The social construct of what we believe a woman is supposed to look like. Once a male sees a female as a sexual object, and you know, let me tell you something that came to mind. We objectify each other regardless of what we have on. Because there are some societies, I'm talking about now the Muslim society where that I am from. There are a lot of women from my country, from my part of the world, who have hijabs. They are covered up. They were raised covering up. And they still get objectified. Many a times these women are actually a whole lot more traumatized than the women in their cowboy outfits or cowgirl outfits, how to call it, their cowgirl outfits, right? I have seen women who are fully covered up, got married as a virgin, badly abused in that marriage. So is it really the clothes that we have on? Or is it the mindset? It's the way that we were raised by our unconscious. And that's a book, The Conscious Family. That's a book by Dr. Shafali. She is a family psychologist, family therapist, right? So it doesn't matter how a woman dresses. She can still be objectified and abused. And that's not because of the men. And it's not because of something is wrong with men. This is why I do not agree with feminism. That has nothing to do with men. It's basically how both of us as men and women have been raised by society. Do I believe that a man has to be strong? Hey, yes. Do I believe that a man has to be masculine? Of course. Because a masculine man, that energy of masculinity, if you carry it, you don't need to tell a woman to submit. And you don't need to tell a woman to be feminine. If you carry that masculine essence and that masculine energy, any woman you come across will be feminine instantly in your presence, because the energies would merge together, right? I don't know if this is weird for some people, but this is my thought process. All right, let's move on. Once a male sees a female as a sexual object, his sense of reasoning is turned off. When a woman awakens a man's sexual imagination, it will be quite difficult for her to reverse the momentum to get him to focus on the more there are words that I can't pronounce with my accent. Substantive aspects of her mind and her character. But then again, it begs the question, what if from the get-go, as children, we were taught to see the spirit and the soul of one another? A wise person will lead with the intellect and character and allow the sexual to naturally find its place sometime later after a firm foundation has been established. I beg to differ. Look at the comments. Maybe not Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, but here on TikTok. Am I exuding anything that is like, in terms of what the book is saying? I'm not. But look at the comments that I am getting. Look at what all these bots, like we say in the real world, the bots. Look at what the bots are saying. I'm fully dressed. I'm covered. I'm not talking about anything sexual. I'm not looking for validation. Neither am I looking for somebody to love or like me. But see what these people are saying. So does it matter? Different ways of thinking. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It always depends on the next person. How the person sees the world and how the person thinks about themselves and people. It is just not smart stewardship of womanhood to flaunt herself publicly. I am a pastor and I have been disturbed on Sunday mornings watching some of the sisters walk around at offering time in inappropriate outfits they wear to church. Deacons and those present should not be distracted by the skin type. But maybe the deacons, they need to have their own self-control. The same self-control that I am having right now, not to buy in whatever's being commented here. I don't think, and this is not a feminist thing, I don't think it is the woman's job to worry about what the man is thinking, because that is too much to put on a woman. That is too much worry. Guys, I am being very honest here when I say, generally, I love to wear oversized and baggy outfits. Yet still, I love to wear bodycons. If you don't know bodycons, that's the tight female dresses. I love both. And even when I wear my oversized clothes, I still get stopped and sexualized by men. So you cannot put that on women to say, oh, you have to dress virtuously. What is virtue? So that you don't distract a man. That's a lot to think about. That is a lot to put on a woman. She already has her own issues to take care of. So what is the responsibility for the man? Steve, African at her best. I am home. Yes, you are home and welcome home. Alright, my vision is to create a home for people who never felt at home. So you are very welcome. So what is the responsibility now of the man? Now, don't get me wrong. If you go deep into the teachings of R.C. Blake's, you will know that he talks about both men and women. He teaches men and he teaches women, right? But I am just giving you a different perspective that is outside of the box, right? There's an African, a very wise African man, and I can never pronounce his name because his name is from a different part of Africa that I'm not very familiar with the names. But I think it's Mapango. You can look him up. Very wise man. And he would always say, we don't think in the box or outside of the box. Burn the damn box. If you listen to Professor Lumumba, right, PLO, he would say that, why do we have to think in the box? Who made that box? And where is that box from? Is it even our box? So the ways of thinking saying that a woman should do this so society can respect her is thinking in the box. The idea that a man and a woman are equal is thinking in the box. The idea that what a man can do, a woman can do better is thinking in the box. But also the idea that men are not abused or men don't have their own pain, they don't have their own emotions, they should not be masculine is also thinking in the box. These are all boxes that has been created for us, and we believe them, right? And we fight each other for stupid stuff. All right, let's go on. Deacons and those present should not be distracted by the skin tight, which is the bodycon. I love bodycons. Almost waist-high skirts certain sisters wear. This is a God's house and should be honored accordingly. I love R.C. Blake's, but hey. What women often fail to understand is that they are major stumbling blocks for heterosexual men. A normal guy is addicted to a beautiful woman. A normal guy, though his addiction may be under control, when she exposes too much or flaunts what she has, it is like pouring cocaine on the pillow of a drug addict. But women also have the same issues, guys. A lot of guys walk around with their shirts off. You think that doesn't affect a woman? A lot of men seek validation. They go to the gym, they get ripped. We love that too. We like seeing that. The same way that a woman's clothing affects a man is the same way that a man's clothing affects a woman. But like I said, this book is a Western civilization book. And I am really not bashing on the author because I love the author. But if you go to different parts of the world, you can cover your face and still be objectified and sexualized as a woman. Doesn't matter. Again, look at my comments. Flaunts what she has. It is like a woman's dress code may either help a man to grow spiritually and socially or test him beyond his ability to withstand. Maybe. Right? Again, the book is very heavily Christian church based. And even though we have the right to wear what we please, we are still responsible to consider whether our actions are providing a stumbling block for the fate of someone else. I think we're responsible for our own actions. right? But we are not really responsible for the actions of another. You have a beautiful mind. Thank you. It has taken a lot of work to get here. Right? Questions that we should ask ourselves. Should I or shouldn't I wear a particular garment? But like I said, coming from my own experience, it doesn't matter what a woman wear. Doesn't matter the garment, because I have experienced this personally. I have faced this. I have worn revealing clothes. I wear booty shorts. I wear tight skirts and tight dresses. I wear big skirts. I wear the hijab. I get covered. I wear the turban like this. I dress like this. My Harry Potter glasses. I wear glasses. And I have faced it with everything that I have worn. Every aspect of it. You know, so the idea that when a woman dresses virtuously, she is respected, coming from a woman, no. No. Doesn't matter what you wear. You can wear anything. Right? Will I be able to effectively witness, well, for Christ, to everybody while wearing this clothing? I don't know. Like, I can't speak on the Christian perspective. So, you know, I don't go to church. Mashallah, doing great speech. Mashallah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that the book is geared towards a particular type of women. But what we also have to understand is that these are the women that need help. They need help. What they are calling for is help. I normally would say that, you know, when I talk about these issues, I'm talking about women of my community. But I have done a podcast before, and I did it on All Women's app. And on this podcast, I was fortunate to be able to speak to women from different parts of the world. African women, African American women, Russian women, you know, would come on and talk about their own pains and hurt of being abused and used as women. I have talked to religious women who had the hijab. You know, one particular one that I'm remembering, she was in deep pain in her marriage. A fully covered woman. You don't even see her earrings like you see in mine. Fully covered. She was in deep hurt and in deep pain in her marriage, right? So, in terms of this, you know, should I or shouldn't I wear a particular garment? Will I be able to effectively witness for, you can say Christ, you can say Allah, whatever, to everybody while wearing this clothing? Will I be able to reflect Christ, Allah, whoever you believe in word, deed, and my presence? These women that I spoke to on my podcast, different parts of the world, different denominations, different ways of being and the way that they were raised, they had one issue, which was the issue of being abused by their family, by their men, by these ideas that women have to be and dress and act a certain way. And you know, everything I talk about, everything I post, everything I do is in terms of healing and a paradigm shift and thinking differently. I personally think that it is time we think differently about these issues, right? Again, it goes back to the question. These ideas that we have, does it only apply to Western women, women who live in the West, women who have embraced civilization, or does it also apply to the men and women who are still preserving their cultures in places like, I can only talk about Africa because I'm from Africa, so I don't know if there are other cultures in any parts of the world who also have these ways of living, right? Where these ideas of clothing doesn't really matter. They still have the trees or the beads, like South Africa, the beads and the Casa, right? The Casa women. They adorn themselves in beads. They don't really necessarily wear Western or westernized clothes. So does it really apply to them? And at the same time, we also have the passport bros, right? Which is the brothers of any skin color who leave the West, or leave the Western world in search of women in other European countries, Russia, whatever other places, because they believe that those women are wife material. Now, when we talk about these issues, mostly people forget African women or black women. Generally in society, most things people just forget that black women even exist. People don't even talk about us. Because most of these passport bros that are going out there, be them black, be them white, be they biracial, they're going to find other light-skinned women because they believe they are wife material and that they are more feminine. And many a time people say, what? Black women or African women are masculine. But then I ask you, have you done anything in your life to contribute to the well-being? Well, first, have you done anything in your life to contribute to your own well-being and healing where you are first as a man before you leave? And have you done anything to contribute to the well-being of the women in your own family and in your own society and in your own community before you go outside there? The grass is always greener where we stand. But we have had a lot of things twisted. Even the idea that people come to America for greener pastures. There's no green earth. I love Brooklyn though. Definitely love Brooklyn. Okay, a woman should always dress like somebody's wife or mother. Am I not dressed like somebody's wife or mother? Yet when I was speaking about sexualizing women, there was somebody telling me to show them. Where is it? I can't find the comment again. Right? So does it matter? Am I not dressed like somebody's mother, somebody's sister, somebody's auntie? I was impressed by the words of Monique R. Henry, I don't know who that is, who holds a master's degree in public health and is a health, environment, and safety specialist for a major oil company. She states, the idea that a woman must dress seductively to be desired and pursued by the opposite sex is false. That is true. Women who dress provocatively are not regarded as women of worth. This is what I was talking about. In either the male or female community, exactly what I was saying. But the question is, why? can't we help them? And does this apply to cultural communities? In a small, personal, and far from scientific survey of men whose opinions I regard as standard, they have stated that there is no serious interest in a relationship with a provocatively dressed woman. But what if the woman wants to dress that way? Not to provoke the man, but it just makes them feel good. They're still not good enough? Instead, they prefer a woman that dresses modestly and carries herself in a disputably ladylike manner. I can dress in a ladylike manner, but I can be an absolute nightmare to a man. There is no one way. Well, what am I trying to say? You can get to 10 in so many different ways, right? I can dress like this modestly, and I have never seen it as modesty until I got on my healing journey, and then I was like, oh wow, this is the issue. You know, when I was wearing pants and I had my hair cut, oh, this is how they were seeing me. But deep within myself, that wasn't who I was. So those ideas traumatized me, right? And now I dress like this and I go out. It's still the same rebellious woman. People are like, oh, Empress, or whatever. And I am like, I am an absolute nightmare. In addition to being a deterrent to finding a godly man, dressing provocatively also creates unnecessary obstacles to advancing professionally. So what is professionalism too? What is professionalism? The suit and tie is considered professional. Maybe it is. You know, these things are hard to say because this is a man that I love, but then, you know, I have a different perspective too. So I'm just going to say it. If you ever watch this, Mr. R.C. Blake's, Pastor R.C. Blake's, I greatly love and admire you. But I have seen things differently now. Which is, you know, when you look at professionalism, it's more of a Western ideology. It's more of a white ideology, white supremacy, and not necessarily the white person, but the idea of whiteness. Because there's a difference. There's a difference between the white person or the light-skinned person and white supremacy. The idea of white superiority, like that's an idea that anybody can have, be you black, white, yellow, purple, orange, pink, right? Because you would see some light-skinned people or people we consider white who do not have the mindset of white supremacy. Does this make sense? You can see that, right? So professionalism, because even wearing African clothes or African team outfits in most professional settings is seen as unprofessional. If a traditional Xhosa woman, and I cannot do the click because I'm not from South Africa, but the people from South Africa, when they say Xhosa, it has a click to it. If you listen to Trevor Noah is Xhosa. So Trevor Noah, when he says Xhosa, it has a click to it. But I can't. So if a traditional Xhosa woman dresses in her traditional way and goes to professional setting, she will be sexualized and she will be seen as unprofessional. But that's a tradition though. A lot of men, why are black women still fighting about their hair? Because having the afro wig or the braids or the locks in most places is still considered unprofessional. But why? The way that I am dressed, a lot of people would like it. But there are some settings that if I dress like this, I am unprofessional. So what exactly is professionalism in the day and age that we live today? Does it have to be the suit and tie, the skirt and the shirt to be a professional? Can't I be professional if I wear my traditional African outfits and traditional African way of dressing? Why wouldn't that be professional? Think about it, right? The ideas that we have. No matter where you are being observed. Yet still, we teach each other that dance like nobody's watching. Don't worry about what people think about you. Don't worry about what people say. Because if you worry about what people think about you and what people say, you might never live your life. Of course, I understand there's a balance to it. But do I have to feel self-conscious and in pain simply because today I want to wear this and then tomorrow I want to wear my tight dress because I want to feel sexy in myself? I know I cannot change this in society. I'm not trying to change it in society, right? Personally, I'm going to dress any way I want regardless, but I'm just saying, just think about it. Right? Reflection. We are just reflecting. In some cases, your presentation can be a distraction for people who could open doors of great opportunity for you. Someone who God puts in your path may not be able to see beyond your external message. But there are people also who, regardless of what you wear and how you are, they will help you. Why? Because they can see the spirit and the soul in you. They are not looking at you anymore as an object, as just the skin that you are. They can see deeper. And for me, as part of my goal, that is a mindset I want to push. That's the mindset that I want to take forward, which is that as a human being, and anybody I talk to who would listen, this is what I would tell them. As a human being, get to the point that you can see the humanity of another. Not just what society tells you are supposed to see. From now to the day I die, if I have at least 5 people who adopts this way of thinking, right? That means I've already started different generations, because those 5 people will teach maybe another 5 people and then another 5 people. So that will be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And those 25 will each teach 5 people each, right? It might not change the world, but it will at least make a little bit of a difference. See the humanity in another. See the humanity in another. One red flag that I wasn't able to see in the last man that I was with. Oh, this is the end of the chapter 1. Well, let me say this, and then I'll continue the last paragraph. One red flag that I wasn't able to see in the last man that I was with, I call it a situationship. I didn't know that was a thing because it was a situationship, right? I saw the humanity and the talent in him, but he just saw me as an object, as just any other woman, right? That manipulative ways of being. And now when we come across, he's trying to get my attention, and I'm like, that boat has sailed. You didn't see my worth in the beginning, you cannot see it now. But one red flag that I didn't pick up was that in the neighborhood that I am in, one day we were sitting together on our balcony and we were talking, we were chatting. And then out of the blue, there was this lady who was in distress and was screaming and was fighting. I don't know if she was fighting with her partner or whoever she was fighting with, right? And she was running out in the street and they were banging at doors and whatever they were doing. When I looked at the lady, right, I could see myself in her. At that time, I have gone not as deep in my spirituality as now, because this was about 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago. Wow. We separated a long time ago. 5 years ago, right? And I was looking at the lady and I could feel her pain deep within myself. Because at that time, I have already made the intention that I want to create a home for people who never felt at home, even though I didn't have those words. Because I personally never felt at home. And I know how it feels to have a family, yet not have a family. So I was looking at the lady and I was just quiet. And I could feel the pain and that she was in distress. Now this man said, look at them. That's how they are. These women, no good. And I'm paraphrasing. And me being the person that I am, I didn't think much about it. I just looked at him and said, these are the type of women I want to work with. Right? The healing that I want to do, I want to impact these kind of women. That was a red flag that I couldn't see. At that point, I didn't know. Like I said in the beginning of the book, you can have your father present in your life and yet still you're not being taught to understand the mind of a man. And this is reminding me of a particular teaching that R.C. Blakes has on YouTube, and it's called The Wounded Man and the Healed Man. And he also has one that is The Wounded Woman and the Healed Woman. And he just, when I told the guy that, I said, these are the type of women that I want to work with. The work that I am doing and the school that I am in, I am learning how to work with women like this. And he just looked at me like, and I should have seen that he sees women as no good, as unworthy, as less than. But that is a part of the mother wound, right? I have that book, and after this book we'll go through that. The mother wound. Because if you're a man, you have the mother wound, you cannot respect women. If you're a woman, you have the father wound, it's very difficult for you to understand like what's happening with men and what's going on, given all the societal chaos and noise that we have every day. Let me continue. I dress stylish but modestly, because you never know what you may be called to do. But also, what is stylish? What is modesty? because you never know what you may be called to do. Again, this is more of a Western ideology. Countless times I have had opportunities for success, and being a modestly dressed person to represent the company or organization. How about women who do not want to work for a company or organization? That I worked for gave me the leg up over my competition. Oh, that women everywhere would heed this advice. Remember, your dress code is your personal commercial. What are you advertising? It doesn't matter. I'm not advertising anything. Yet, going back to what I said, the comments, the earlier comments, they are still sexualizing me. I'm not advertising anything. And I've seen it also. Okay, so I am, and that's the end of chapter 1. So tomorrow is Thursday. Tomorrow we'll go on to chapter 2. And I am live now from Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I am around a lot of communities of women now, right? And as part of my healing journey, I talked about being a part of Girl Hold My Hand, which is both men and women, but mostly women, right? I personally follow and love the teachings. I mean, she doesn't really teach. It's just mostly women coming together to talk on Shira Seven's channel, Ashra Goddess. So we would hang out together on YouTube, just chatting and talking. And over there, in both groups, we're not doing anything that's sexualizing. These are very, I'm not going to say educated, but these are women who are wise, who are healing, who are getting their money, right? Who are learning to be better women. We still get men come into our lives, the life that we are doing online, and sexualize and talk nonsense, right? When we are on Coach Stormy Wellington, who is my coach, when we are on her live, most often we are learning network marketing, because we all do network marketing. Girl Hold My Hand is under her, right? So when I talk about the products I sell and the products I take is under network marketing. So mostly when Stormy is live on Instagram, most of the time, right, we're talking about sales. We're talking about network marketing. We're talking about changing lives, because we are all working with total life changes, right? How we can help more women to lose weight. How we can help more men and women to get back into the gym, to come back to life. These are the things that we talk about. And nobody is naked or any of that in these lives. Yet, I have personally seen men come on those lives and say, take your clothes off. Let's see the booty. Let's see what you got behind you. So, as a woman, it's like, okay, so what am I supposed to do? And who am I supposed to be? Now, maybe I wasn't born and, well, I raised myself, I would say, in Brooklyn, New York. Maybe I wasn't born in the West. And I always have to tap back to different communities, to different women. I have watched documentaries from India about sex workers. But it was on Netflix. And it's about sex workers in India. I've watched those documentaries, right? Like I said, I've talked to women from Russia who are explaining their life with abuse, sexual abuse as women. And these are who the The passport brawls consider wife material. I am from West Africa, the Gambia, but there are cultures, and even in our own culture, our way, some parts of Africa, the ways of dressing and the way of being is not necessarily what the Western world will consider professional or worthy of wife material. These are women who are mostly forgotten by society and people don't talk about. And there are other parts, I'm thinking of Mongolia. These are areas where I have delved into maybe some of their documentaries and stuff. There is no one way of being in life. And so opening our mind, right, shifting our paradigm shift. It's something I love from Bob Proctor. May his soul rest in peace, Bob Proctor. Now Sandy Gallagher is taking over his company, right? Paradigm shift. Having a paradigm shift. Being able to open your mind enough to be able to see different perspectives, different ways of living, different ways of being as a human being, as a spirit, having a human experience. Being able to see each other, the humanity in each other. I see the humanity in you as a man, and you see the humanity in me as a woman, as a spiritual being, and not objectifying each other. Because if we just say that a woman needs to be covered, needs to be well dressed, and all of these things for them to be respected, right, then we are shrinking the woman, but also we are removing other societies maybe who do not adhere to this way of living. Like I mentioned here several times, the Kasa women of South Africa, the Himba tribes of where are they from? Sudan? I have to look that up properly. They don't dress that way. So what about those women? African women, African cultural women are usually just erased out completely. Caribbean societies, they have what is called the carnival. The carnival from the Caribbean, that is a historical thing that is deeply embedded in the society of the Caribbean, of the islands, right? Are they sexualizing themselves? I don't think so. Many a time we say that in society all black women sexualize themselves. But when we see white women trying to dance like black women, then it's okay. Then it's like, oh my God, that's so cool. But why? I have heard from Caribbean people who say that the carnival is an excuse for most women to be naked. But the carnival is historical, right? There was a YouTube, no, not a YouTube. It was a TikTok that was shared somewhere, I can't remember, where this lady was explaining and showing the video of a much more light-skinned woman. I don't think, I maybe they were a fire dancer. My Caribbean ladies here, right? And they were explaining in this video, they were explaining about how this much more light-skinned woman was doing belly dancing, right? Belly dancing, dancing with your waist and shaking your butt and all this stuff. And it's normalized. But when a darker-skinned woman does it, then they are sexualizing themselves. But these ways of dancing, it's more of an African way of dancing, right? That those way of those ways of belly dancing, the waist beats, right? Even the twerking that we see here, it has an African aspect to it. But we've used that to bring dark-skinned women, black women, and African women down. Now, I am not saying that there are people who don't overdo it. I am not saying that there are people who don't overuse it. I'm not saying that there are people who don't sexualize themselves. I am saying all of these things happen. But what if we just for a moment change our mentality about the ways that we talk about each other? Dr. Wayne Dyer, I heard this quote from him. God rest his soul. Dr. Wayne Dyer said, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Right? When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. All right. I'm done for today.
How about cards?
Cards. Oh. Pick a card. I'll do How to Love Yourself by Louise Hay. I'll pick one card from... My daughter loves the cards and she's always asking, how about cards?
How about the cards come up?
No. That one. You can reach it. How to Love Yourself. Yes. And you were using my nails. Don't worry, let me pick it up. How to Love Yourself.
It doesn't. But I want to do it.
By Louise Hay. These are affirmation.
Oh, those are the squares.
Oh yeah, these are affirmation cards by Louise Hay. She is somebody that, yeah, if you are into healing, into well-being, into knowing yourself, definitely look her up. Louise Hay and Lisa Nichols, right? Also, the things that I am talking about is different from what Hollywood is doing. The person that's coming to mind now is Janelle Monáe. She started wearing black and white, fully dressed, and now she's taking off the clothes. She has her own reason for doing that. More Grace, oh hi, always connect, thank you. Why she did that, I don't know. Can we judge her? No, we cannot judge her because we don't know. It might be because of the industry. It might be just because she's fighting for what she believes. It might be she wants to, even though she's getting a lot of backlash. Again, we don't know what we don't know. I'm here today with my glasses. I haven't worn these glasses before. Maybe tomorrow. Well, I have had lives where, you know, I was wearing one of my summer dresses and it was cut off here, and I love that. Beautiful. Again, I'm not talking about anything. I'm hoping you understand what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that I'm just giving you a different way of thinking, right? For me personally, when I sit, these are the things that I reflect on. Because as a woman, honestly speaking, I have done everything society told me to do. Yet I have never been happy. Neither have I had anything that people told me I can get. Maybe it's me. Some people would say that, oh, I listened to what society said and I got a husband and I got this and I got that. That's true. But again, there's no one way of doing everything. There are some men and women, school is not for them. There are some men and women, college is not for them, right? School in itself is a social construct. It's not real. So we live in a world that is socially construct, yet still it has been used to measure our value as spiritual beings, which means that the spirit in itself, our spirit in itself, has been killed along the way, to the point that we don't see the spirit in another. So now when we think about it differently, right, like how I am presenting myself, not just the clothing, right, but there's a way that if I dressed, people will see me as a hood, and a lot of people will not listen to what I have to say. Yes or no? So, like Wayne Dyer said again, when you change the way, since the day Afrocentric told me to take to use sage, this thing doesn't light. This thing never lights up. Afrocentric, did you juju it? What did you do to my rosemary? Okay, I will do sage. And it's turquoise. It's with turquoise flower. You know, peace, tranquility, calm, joy, all those things, right? With turquoise. Again, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. All of us that are watching this today, that are here, we came to this world naked. And I talked about this today. I don't know why this is coming back to my mind. And so I'm going to close with that before I pick a card. Well, we pick any card that comes out. This is how to love yourself. I've mentioned here how, if you listen to Muji Baba, Muji, he is from Jamaica. He lives in Portugal. He is a spiritual teacher, even though he doesn't like to call himself a spiritual teacher. Afrocentric. My rosemary doesn't light since that day. You see how the sage is lighting and going? Whatever you did, it worked. I need some of that juju. Moji will always say, when we were born, we came naked. We came without our names. My name is Mariama Fai. But when I was born, my mother called me Yama Fai, which is a short form of Mariama. When I understood the power of the name Mariama or Miriam in the Quran, I changed my name to Mariama. And then later I realized that Mariama is Mariam, is Mary from the Bible. And saying Mary from the Bible, I'm thinking about Mary Magdalene, who is also ostracized. The awareness you're a spiritual being allows you to see the spirit in others. Yes, when you feel that, then it's very easy to see the humanity in another, right? And so Muji would always say that when you were born, whatever your name is, that is watching me now on every platform, you did not come to this world with that name stamped on your forehead. Mariama or Yama was not stamped on my forehead. Even though most of us are so butthurt about our name when somebody pronounces it is wrong, because it is our identity, right? Most of the things that hurt us is not hurting us as a spirit, is hurting the identity that we have. Our names are just identities. So he would say that your name wasn't stamped on your head. Either your mother sat down and decided that this is the name they're going to call you, or your father decided this is the name they're going to give you. Maybe they chose it culturally. Maybe there's a public figure that you were named after. Many people don't even know where their name come from, right? If you are descendants of enslaved Africans, you might have picked a name or a surname, or they might have picked a name or a surname that came from the family or the slave masters. So our names were given to us, yet it has become an identity that we have. The education that we have, we sit down and then we were taught. We were not really taught. Information was just put into us or given into us, ideas, right? Which is why an aspect of meditation is just letting everything go. Your name, the ideas you have of yourself, the person that you think you are. When you're manifesting something, and to bring it into life more on a spiritual realm here, because we're always manifesting. But if you want to bring something into being, they will tell you that who you think you are right now is just a thought. It's just an idea that you have in your mind, right? So our names are not even real, because you can change your name. Women do this all the time. You take your husband's name, you change your name. I changed my name as a young woman, as a young girl. You can change your name. You can change everything about you. People change their skin color. But then we don't talk about the essence. There is always something there, right? That thing that you can't, it doesn't have a name. You can't name, right? So if you're listening to me, I am speaking to that aspect of you, right? That being, because it's me seeing the humanity in you. So I'm speaking to your being. I did fashion before. I still do fashion. I love fashion and modeling, and I've always loved doing bikini modeling. I've always loved doing implied nude, which is just a play with the camera and a play with the mind. So we play with your mind and make you believe that we are naked or we are doing some sexual acts, but really nothing is happening. It's just a play, like acting, right? Sometimes with actors you think they're kissing, but they're not really kissing. Implied nude. And when I used to do that, I have had death threats from people from my country. That greatly affected my mental health. There was no support coming from my family either because of these ideas, societal ways of being. But if you remove all of that, what less? If you remove the name that you were given, the ideas that you were given by society, who you think you are right now listening to me, the ideas that you have of yourself, or the ideas that you have of me right now as you are listening, what less? What remains? What remains, right? That's that essence, that soul that is in each and every one of us, regardless of your skin color or where you come from. Now, when you tap into that, you don't sexualize men or women, and you don't care about a lot of things, because now you are, like Moji would say, sit into your soul, sit into the very being of your soul. And when the identities we attach to life, right? As I was reading in the book, it's talking about professionalisms and organizations and companies. These are all ideas. The degrees that we have are all ideas. They are all ideas. It's not what makes us it's not what makes us valuable as a man or as a woman. Right? Andrew Tate talks about how being a man is the most difficult thing in this era. That you need to be strong, you need to look good, you need to have money for people to listen to you. PLO, Professor Lumumba, right? Who talks about how African men, when they speak, nobody listens because nobody really cares or respects them. And that is true. These are all ideas that we have. It is not the real deal. There are so many ideas out there for women. Act like a lady, think like a man. Even though I love Steve Harvey very much and I listen to his motivational stuff, there's a lady in the streets and the freak in the sheets, right? And then you talk about the man. It's so confusing. What exactly does society want us to do? Anyway, I'm gonna stop because I can talk for days, you know. As always, to close, oh wow, it's 222. 222. 222, new beginnings. Put your intention, whatever it is you want to hear, whatever it is you want to know, put your intention, right? Whatever intention. We are all one as a soul. So, and we usually have the same problems and the same issues and the same feelings, even though we explain it differently. So whatever comes out is for all of us. The card at the end, it says, I am my own unique self. I am my own unique self. And the fourth one says, I am free and at peace. I am free and at peace. Nina Simone said, freedom is having no fear. So I usually would ask for one card only, and sometimes a lot comes out.
Yes.
Whatever card comes out is what we need to hear for today. Fascinating. One came out and it says, before the starting, I am totally in charge of my life now. I am totally in charge of my life now. I'm totally in charge of my life now. And the other side says, the moment I say positive affirmations, I step out of the victim role. I am no longer helpless. I acknowledge my own power. The moment I say positive affirmations, I step out of the victim role. I am no longer helpless. I acknowledge my power, my own power. And as always, I will share this in most channels. Twitter, Instagram. I post on Nextdoor as well. Nextdoor, that's if you are in Brooklyn. I like saying that. But I'm gonna leave you with this, right? And the things that I share is not me being wise. These are reflections that I have had my entire life. It's just that at this point in my life, I am able to voice them because I've gone to the point where I don't care anymore. Right? There's a quote that say that everything I was afraid of happened to me, and so now I am not afraid anymore. Right? So everything that I have ever freedom, everything that I have ever been scared of happened to me. Everything that I was running away from happened to me. Everything that I didn't want people to say about me, they already said about me. So now it's like nobody can tell me anything that I haven't said to myself already. Which is why I've gone to the point where I can talk about these things. Society is the art or the world or society. Is a space, right? So we live in a space. This is also an analogy that I got from Moji. I listen to Moji a lot. I'm actually part of the admin team, right, of the New York Sangha of Moji Baba. So yeah, definitely listen to Moji as much as you can. So we live in a space, not Elon Musk's space, but it's a space. If you look at a room, where you live, if you're watching me from home, even if you're not watching me from home, wherever you are, it was empty. There was nothing in there, right? So I am in my living room. When I first moved here, it was absolutely empty. There was no furniture. There was nothing. It was just the physical structure. But also the physical structure was man-made. I know when I was growing up, I thought these buildings are real. They've been here forever. But it's man-made. And so when I moved in here, it was very empty. There was nothing. Nothingness. So we live in a nothingness. And as a people, we are no thing. And so when I came, I brought in my furniture. Well, actually, I didn't bring a lot of furniture. I eventually had to buy and bring in furniture. The couch, right? The cameras that I'm using right now. My computer, the iPad, the bed, the utensils in the kitchen, the cooking pots, to occupy the space. So we live in space. Everything is nothing. And we are no thing. Like nothing is really real, even though everything has energy. This has energy. It emotes a certain energy. This is a flower pot that I have changed to an incense bowl, because my culture, we use clay pots for incense, right? Not necessarily other types of. This is how we do incense. So I had to create something for myself, because the flower pots here are much more stronger than the clay pots that I have bought here. They always break when I buy them. So when I hold this, it emotes a certain kind of energy. Does it make it real? No. It's not real, but it occupies space. The same way, our thoughts and the ideas that we have occupy space in nothingness. Am I speaking woo-woo? in nothingness, because we are no thing. We are no thing. We say I, but where are we? We, I, my. You cannot say, you can even listen to Bob Proctor about this. If Moji is too deep, listen to Bob Proctor, right? Bob Proctor has so many lessons talking about this too. It's just that Moji is deeper into the spiritual realm, and Bob Proctor mixes up, you know, the intellectual, the Western, and all of that into his spirituality and his way of teaching. Right? We say I. I am drinking my NutriBurst, and this has an energy to it too, because when I pick it up, I'm thinking about multivitamin, feeling better. I, my. But who am I talking about? Because I cannot say I vitamin, I car, my car, my deck. Who am I talking about? In the same way, when we say this is the way a woman is supposed to be, this is the way a man is supposed to be, this is the way we are supposed to think, who are we talking about? If we say this is a white person and this is a black person, who are we talking about? Are we just stopping at the color of the skin? Or are we talking about the construct that has been made, and at some point where society shifted and the lighter skinned person became the white person and the darker skinned person became the black person, and then everybody else who's from a different part of the world was run into the new world to be a white person? Who are we talking about? Who are you? When you say I, who are you? I am so tired. Who are you talking to? Are you talking to me? Do you know who I am? Who do you think you are? You can't tell me that. I am better than you. White people are better than black people. Black people have more flavor. We actually have more flavor. But when we say these things, like, what are we saying? What exactly are we talking about? Are we talking about real, tangible things? The social constructs programs the ego to identify with false realities, right? Because even ourselves, we are not tangible. We are never the same. We always change and morph. And there are people who knew me 5 years ago. If they see me today, they will say, oh my God, you change. There are people who know me now. When I tell them my story, they will be like, what? We change. We dress differently. We change everything. Right? Change is constant. There was a time there was no white people. Now white people are everywhere. There was a time nobody said black people. People were saying the Negro. Now you dare not call a person a Negro. And then there's now where people don't want to be called black. Right? What is it we're talking about? Okay, I have to go. Bye-bye. I love you all. I'll be back here again tomorrow just to reflect. All that we're doing is reflections, right? Have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. Enjoy yourself. And never forget to self-reflect. Look at life, look at society, look at the way you think, the way you act, the way you behave. You're not in competition with anybody. We are always in competition with ourselves to live better, right? Bye-bye. I'll start with TikTok. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Facebook. Bye-bye.